combination attack.
That's another round where it would have been difficult to pick Jones as the winner. Tune to Inside the NFL every Wednesday night throughout the football season. Join hosts Bob Costas, Chris Collinsworth, Dan Marino, and Chris Carter for a mix of exclusive game highlights, in-depth features, analysis, and predictions. And don't miss Dan's conversation with quarterbacking legend Joe Namath next week on Inside the NFL.
You'll be able to find some holes now. Okay, you got your little breather that round. Got your little breather that round. Let's lay some hands on him this time. Let's lay some hands.
Up that jab, all right? Don't let him get set. That's the only thing I'm telling you this round. Remember that. Don't let him get set.
Nice work, boy. Nice work.
All right, let's get that shit out.
When Alton Murchison says to Roy Jones calmly, lay some hands on him, that is an urgent call to get going.
He's observing the obvious. Jones, according to CompuBox, threw 15 punches in the 7th round. Johnson threw 45. So there are 7 rounds in the book. Maybe Glen Johnson's won 5 of them. Maybe he's won 6 of them. Either way, logic tells you Roy Jones needs a rally or a knockout going down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think he's going to pretty much realize that as the fight goes on. Because he hasn't been able to put combinations together. He throws one flashy punch at a time, maybe to get the attention of the crowd, but he really can't put 3, 4, or 5 shots together on Johnson.
Well, and Johnson is also jabbing with him.
And it's the most effective punches, short jab.
Roy never depended on or had a great jab. I mean, one of the unusual aspects of him was he had these remarkable reflexes in which he was a boxer who didn't jab.
But what is happening, Johnson is getting closer to the distance that he shoots his jab, and Roy don't have time to time it.
And you wonder.
He's not used to guys fighting him this close.
How does Roy Jones expect to win the fight, fighting at a pace which seems to tell us that he's more interested in avoiding the action than in being a part of it?
Well, I think he's dependent on the fact that he can knock out Johnson. As Johnson gets tired going down the stretch, I really believe he thinks he can knock him out.
That's a little bit of a high wire act at this point. Johnson isn't an easy man to knock out.
Especially in view of the fact that, as you reminded me at the beginning, Larry, that he doesn't knock out that many people in the light heavyweight division in later rounds.
Watch your head! Watch your head!
See, those punches are so
Jones
short.
hasn't had a knockout since February 24, 2001. Now, excuse me, he knocked out Clinton Woods in the 6th round to TKO in Portland in 2002. But it's been 2 years since Jones's last knockout. He went the distance with Ruiz and Tarver before being knocked out by Tarver.
He's just getting out-hustled, outworked at close quarters. Something we've never seen him in this kind of fight, and we have to simply attribute it to the fact that he's a 35-year-old athlete who's always depended on his extraordinary reflexes to win.
And I think also the fights with Tarver has given all of his opponents much more confidence now.
That's the point. He's not getting treated with the kind of respect that he has commanded throughout his career. Johnson's not here to give him that kind of respect.
Yeah. So far, this is Hurricane Glen Johnson landing on him.
Now, Roy's being more aggressive now.
And that's another round that would have been difficult to score in the favor of Roy Jones. And the crowd is beginning to boo because they came here expecting to see Jones win. And Antonio Tarver is on the cell phone saying, what do I do if Jones isn't available for me to fight?
Maybe he's talking to Bernard Hopkins.
You got 4 more rounds. Okay?
I don't rule it out.
4 more rounds. Okay? All right.
Have fun, baby. This is your title, baby. This is your show.
He's looking for the left uppercut or left hook to the body. That's what he's looking for. Watch that left hand.
Jab to that left shoulder when he's trying to set.
All right, here we go.
There was a time when Roy Jones didn't lose this many fights this many rounds in 6 fights.
In the last 2 rounds, by CompuBox count, Johnson has outlanded Jones 36-12. Jones, in rounds 7 and 8 combined, threw a total of 40 punches. This is no way to win a decision.
I think you're going to see Roy at this round. I think panic is setting in. Now you're going to see him do whatever he wants to do or has to do. He's going to start doing it this round right now. I think he really realizes that he's getting in jeopardy of losing the fight. Before he felt it was okay.
Well, he turned it up against
He takes a right hand and a left hand, and he's on the canvas again for the second time in 2 fights. And for the second time in 2 fights, he's not going to get up, and he's been knocked out again.
Will we ever see Roy Jones in the ring again?
Not the one you're used to seeing, because we didn't see him tonight. We saw the guy who got knocked out by Tarver getting knocked out by Glen Johnson.
And he is still out on the canvas and hurt badly.
In our meeting yesterday, Roy Jones made it clear that he didn't think Tarver's knockout of him suggested he had deteriorated as a fighter. Quote, "It could happen to anybody. It could have happened earlier in my career." Fact is, he's not the same fighter.
He has not moved. He's still laying in the same position he had before.
And that could be the product of his having hit his head on the canvas when he went down unconscious from the second of the 2 punches that Johnson landed. Frankly, it was a one-sided fight, which ended in a knockout victory for the guy who had dominated it from the opening bell. Now Jones begins to talk, but there's concern as he lies on the canvas, still motionless. And Emmanuel Stewart, you said it in the first round, Glen Johnson isn't that big a puncher. For Glen Johnson, who's not that big a puncher, to have done this damage to Roy Jones tells us, A, that Jones got hit way too many times.
Well, this goes back to the numbers game. Johnson was permitted to throw so many punches, and even if you have a low percentage, you sooner or later got to start landing. And he let him throw too many punches. But this was a round I figured Roy was going to come out and let it all hang out, and he gets knocked out himself.
You may never have dreamed that you would see Oscar De La Hoya and Roy Jones, the 2 leading lights of their generation in boxing, getting knocked out in successive weekends. But that's the kind of sport we've got. This is the first time in his career that Glen Johnson has ever knocked out an opponent past the 6th round. Glen Johnson's a guy who's lost 9 fights in his career.
Well, all praises have to be given to Glen Johnson. He did an unbelievable job, especially considering the whole crowd, the atmosphere, everything here was so pro-Roy Jones Jr.
And this is the 3rd loss of Jones's career, 2nd consecutive knockout loss. And I have to wonder, how much money is in Jones Tarver now? How about Glen Johnson versus Antonio Tarver?
It'll be very interesting.
It makes a lot more sense.
It'll be very interesting. I really don't think that Roy's going to fight much beyond this year.
Antonio Tarver just watched a few million go out the window. And we're going to take a look back at the knockout so you can see the devastating 1-2 combination which knocked Roy Jones out. Right hand, crunch. Now the left hook. And it was really the right hand that did the damage. The left hook was just a push on the shoulder to get him to go down. The right hand had already knocked him cold.
And his head hit the canvas very hard.
That's right. And the head bounced twice against the canvas. And there's your winner. A nicer guy you'll never meet in our sport. 35 years old, graduate of Coral Gables High School in Miami, left Jamaica when he was 9, an American citizen who loves the United States, but loves Jamaica as well. A guy who's always been cast as the other guy. Now he's the guy, as Michael Buffer is about to tell you.
Here in Memphis, Tennessee, the end comes at 48 seconds of round number 9. The winner by knockout victory, and still the IBF light heavyweight champion of the world, Glen Road Warrior Johnson.
And this big crowd in Memphis, which came to root for Roy Jones, is applauding Glen Johnson. And here are the numbers on what was a landslide. Johnson outlanding Jones by 43 punches, throwing 167 more, landing at the same percentage, landing down the stretch the harder blows. Roy Jones has never used his jab all that much, so these numbers fairly predictable. Roy Jones has been good at shutting off other people's jabs. He didn't do all that good a job of shutting down Glen Johnson.
No, because Glen Johnson got very close to him before he jabbed, and Roy didn't have time to get away from the jabs. He usually likes to keep a big distance.
Larry Merchant is standing by with Glen Johnson.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Glen. What was your plan coming into this fight? Did you think, based on his being knocked out in the last fight, that he might be a little gun shy?
No, I didn't know if he was going to be gun shy or not, because each man respond differently to a knockout. So, you know, it's a matter of opinion if he's going to be shy or not. My game plan was come in and beat him at all costs. If it comes to the decision, beat him at that. Make sure you do enough work through each round. Make sure you throw enough punches through each round. And if the knockout come, take it. That's my game plan all along.
You stayed in his chest. Was the idea of that to not give him a chance to use his speed from outside?
Well, you know, a lot of guys who fight Roy, they stay just outside his punch and let him jump in with single shots. And he fast with that one single shot. Sometimes he run off two and he jump back out, slide out to the side. I decided that I wasn't going to let him jump in. I was going to stay in place where if he throw that punch, I have the opportunity to throw a punch as well. You know what I mean? So stay close enough where either you're going to throw the punches faster than me, better than me, and knock me out, or I have an opportunity to do the same.
Were you a little over anxious in the first round the way you launched into him, or did you want to send him a message?
I just wanted to send a message that, hey, I'm here to fight. So unless you're ready to fight, you're going to have a long night.
Did he ever hurt you?
No. He never hurt me.
I mean, you're not known as a knockout puncher. Why did you knock him out?
Well, I changed a lot of things since people seen me last. You know what I mean? That's why they don't know. I've been fighting overseas. Me, my trainer, Orlando Cuellar, and I, we've been working on a lot of different things. My manager been working the phones, trying to get me the right fights. My promoter been doing the same thing, trying to get me the right fights.
Could you feel him weakening as the fight went along?
As a matter of fact, I was just touching him anywhere I could. Touch him to the body, touch him to the head, and I know from being a boxer, those punches going to weaken you. Doesn't matter what kind of mechanical you have.
Let's take a look at the knockout, and you describe what happened.
Well, right there, I was just stepping to him. I said, let me throw a jab, and I didn't see him respond, so I said, ready right on that, and there it was. I looked for him for the left hook, and I barely tapped him there, and I wanted to come with another punch, but he wasn't there. So I just step around him and just keep moving out the way so the referee can do his job.
Were you surprised at all that he wasn't as quick as we normally would see him in his prime, that he was easy for you to hit?
Well, my speed was offsetting his speed. He and I the same age. You know what I mean? I'm the older man in the ring by a few days. So I don't see why he wouldn't have his speed. I have mine.
Would you now like to fight Antonio Tarver instead of Roy Jones?
I fight any man in the world. I'm not the best. I'm just the guy you're willing to fight the best. And all who say they're the best and claim the best, and the media say they're the best. I'm here to fight them all. I'm not ducking or hiding from no man.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on an outstanding fight.
Thank you, Larry. You're great.
Jim?
HBO, help me back.
What a great line. I'm not the best. I'm just a guy who's willing to fight the best. Emmanuel Stewart, a week ago, when I